Hello everyone, welcome to Grounded Roots Healing. My name is Jason and I've been off. I haven't recorded a video in a while. That's been about 3 days. So in the end of my last video, I described how I had had a good day and then my body started to act up and it was causing me difficulty in maintaining my composure, let's say, or my connection to my higher self, my clarity on how this whole thing works. Well, that was the beginning of what I'm likely to call the Great Purge of 2024. It was an epic struggle in the form of what we would likely call in the 3D world a stomach flu. Except it was worse than any stomach flu I've ever had. That's not true. Okay, so it's since gone through the entire house nearly. Everybody's had it. I think I had it the worst because I don't believe it's actually the flu. Let me explain. So where am I? I'm feeling better today. Not perfect, but better. The intestinal tract is it's suffered over the last few days, and there wasn't much vomiting involved. It was mostly the other direction, and there was some, and there's a lot of nausea. So how it started was with chills, fever, with no fever, no recordable fever, but that's what it felt like. It's frozen, and then I was too hot, and then the body pains and the racking body pains, some of the worst I've ever had. Headaches, like I said, nausea, a little bit of vomiting, and then it headed south. Now, I hadn't eaten anything in about 3 days either, or not much. And if I did attempt to eat something, usually that's probably why I didn't vomit very much, because I didn't eat much. But so I've described this before. As we get close to flipping the switch on this new earth, let's say, where we are, what's the word, technically lodged in a it's not 5 dimension, but the 5th frequency on this ascension process. When the planet itself gets there, anything from our previous lives and that we learned, or behavioral patterns burned into our mind from the 3rd frequency, 3rd dimension, the 3rd frequency of the 3rd dimension, it can't come with us. So we're, a lot of us are getting close to full enlightenment. It's close, but it's not quite there yet. Now, where it's not there for me is in the physical body. When I'm struggling with my physical body, I get drawn into identification with the physical body. And that is right back to square one, essentially. It's not, because I have dealt with a lot of the issues that the body is struggling with. But as this is happening, as we're ascending, these last things that we're holding on to, we haven't quite cleared yet or solved yet, they gotta go. And in my case, that's an awful lot of, I shouldn't say an awful lot, but it's the remnants of the trauma and behavioral patterns that I've held on to since I was a kid. it's still there. It's stubborn. It's going to be the final thing that lets go, because it's been my biggest challenge. You know, all the stuff that's caused the depression and the passive suicidal ideation as well, and the alcoholism, and all the stuff that I had, and all the stuff I was doing to deal with all the stuff that had happened. So I've since dealt with a ton of this stuff. It seems like I've had to look at every one of these from every possible angle that you can think of. Like, for example, when you have a traumatic thing happen, it's not just a singular angle that you have to look at this particular traumatic event from and heal only that. It's damaged you in many, many ways. So in my instance, I had the essay, and I got a car pulling in. Had the essay, and I had to look at it from the sexuality point of view, and I had to look at it from the guilt and the shame, and then I had to look at it from the anger, and then I had to look at it as I wasn't able to protect myself physically, and it goes on and on and on. And every time it pops back up, there's always a new way to look at it. So I got at least a little more of this to do. So like I was saying, I had to look at these from every angle. And I have done that. And, you know, my life's gotten better. But this is a path to awakening, not a path to getting better. Path to enlightenment. So it's all got to go. And what this purge, I believe, is my body, the body dealing with a lot of this stuff. These old energies that's been holding on to and letting them go. When your body holds on to this stuff, it holds it in the sacral, solar plexus, you know, wherever you've had, as I described, these different ways of looking at the particular incident. You have to heal each one of those. Well, each one of those particular problems that you have with this incident is associated with a different chakra. So it'll hold it in that area. So you may retain water. You know, your body may retain fat in order to protect yourself, protect the body from further damage and harm. And then there's the other stuff. There's the stuff like parasites. I spent an awful lot of time in jungles, like I've said before, in unsanitary conditions and in an environment that this particular genetic vessel wasn't born into. So a lot of the parasites and different little creepy crawlies, I have no immunity to. So I went to these places. I did my best, but you know there's always going to be slip-ups. Like I had a close call in Papua New Guinea. I had a lot of close calls in Papua New Guinea, but that's a different story. There's one in particular where I had essentially dysentery, and I was in trouble. If it had gone on much longer, I would have been in a hospital, and there weren't any hospitals. So it could have ended badly, but of course the universe wouldn't have allowed that. Also had another one where we almost crashed a plane. So I still think I have PTSD over. I don't like Cessnas. Anyway, it's dealing with this stuff that is what's happening when this is going on. That's what a purge is. A purge is dumping. And in order to dump, it has to expel this stuff out somehow. The energies, maybe it's in the form of air, these low vibration, negative energies, whatever you want to call them, they got to get out. And, you know, it's a lot of diarrhea and other things that needs to be expelled from your body. And it isn't fun. It was extreme, actually, in this case. This one will be remembered. Now, I've had the Norwalk virus several times. If anyone, they call it the 24-hour flu. It's so bad. That one's awful. That was worse than this, but this one lasted a lot longer. As of 3 days now. So there you go. We had the great purge of 2024. And what I've noticed is a lot of people in this space, i.e. other creators who are in this particular space, the spirituality space, I don't know what you'd call it, they're struggling too. There's been a lack of content lately, and I think collectively everyone's feeling it, and collectively everyone's dealing with it. Not exactly the same way. It's going to be in whatever way you have to remove energies. So in this case, this is what I needed to do. And, you know, I know some other people that had they're hospitalized because they thought they're having reproductive issues. Turns out it wasn't. It was energy. And others. So I'm sure anyone who's watching this, if you have any stories, let me know, because I suspect that this is happening on a very, very large scale. Not exactly the same, but have you had any physical challenges where you feel they were strange over the last week or so? Please put them down in the comments. I'm very curious, because I have noticed this in the collective, on YouTube especially. Well, that's all I watch, so yeah. And you know, you have to be, I need some water. This causes dehydration. It depends on how bad this is going to be. It depends on which level of the awakening process you're at. So if you're not in an awakening process and you're fully asleep, you probably didn't even notice. This also goes for things like the epic solar flares that we've been having, which I put at the front of my last video. These aurora borealis are absolutely insane lately, and they're affecting me, and things like the moon as well. But if you're not on the awakening process, you probably didn't even notice it physically. I suspect you wouldn't. And I do know how this ends, and how when the separation happens, how this is going to work. There'll be a copy, essentially. So if you don't make the cut, you get left on the copy, and that goes on essentially as, it's not a good way to go, let's put it that way. It goes on the way that the world has been going to this point, which isn't fun, you know. The toxic masculinity and toxic femininity, for that matter, the entire toxic system that we've been living in, it continues on until its eventual end as an experiment. And the real Earth, if there is such a thing, continues on. And there isn't really such a thing. Like I've said many, many times, this is a book and a story, and we're here to play this game. It's not even a game, in my opinion. It's a book. It's a game in that it was a game that your higher self played and wrote out this story, and you're just up here observing the end results of what you planned on the other side. So you played the game before you were in the avatar. Yeah, so great purge of 2024. I think I'll leave it at that. It's been a challenge, and if anyone else is going through that, please let me know. So like I always say, I hope this video finds you well. I love you all, and we'll see you tomorrow.